What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Toast Hammer. No face cam today because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but I don't have time to delay the recording because I'm about to go on vacation. So instead, I'm going to do a little bit of something different and talk about the Dark Heresy campaign that I have been participating in for the last over a year, maybe even 2 at this point, and specifically about my character, Ophelia, a death cultist assassin who has been kind of party mom for our group over the past little bit. She's actually my second character in the campaign. My first character met a grizzly end, but perhaps we'll get to talking about my first character a little bit later if you're interested in hearing about that. So I'm just going to be sketching and coloring a portrait of my character in a fairly recent scene, while kind of describing her deal and where the campaign is so far. So the first thing to understand is that she is a null, also known as a blank or a pariah, which is a person who is born without a soul. Everybody most people in the 40k universe have souls as a measurable, provable thing that is linked to their latent psychic ability. She, however, through genetic mutation, was born without one, and thus dampens psychic abilities of those around her, and is generally just an unsettling presence for reasons that people usually can't quite put a finger on, other than she just creeps them out. Add to that the fact that she is a assassin who feels that spilling the blood of the Emperor's enemies is both a ritualistic and almost ecstatic act of prayer, and you get someone who is generally just awful to interact with at any point in the game. To sort of underscore this, the fellowship statistic for my character, which is how you sort of interact with NPCs and other characters, when you're rolling a skill to do an interaction roll, is 8, whereas most of my other skills are at around 40 or 50 at this point in the campaign. So yes, not a people person. A little bit about her backstory very quickly. Very kind of normal upbringing, middle class sort of artisan family. She had sort of a half a scholar background. Also, spoiler warnings, this is going to get really dark, very disturbing stuff going on because, of course, it is 40k, so I guess listen at your own discretion. Her parents were abusive because they couldn't stand her being around because of her soullessness, so she murdered both of them when she was 12, and then was convinced that she saw the light of the Emperor in their viscera. She didn't, of course, that's just kind of what she thought. And was then kind of forced to a life on the streets, where she quickly gained a reputation as sort of a cut purse, and eventually gained enough skills to get the attention of the Moritat death cult, and began to be trained as a young teenager in the art of assassination. Now, in her early 20s, she finds herself on the Travail, a sort of excursion from the death cult in which she is able to hone her skills and her art of death dealing to a fine point, to then be reintegrated into the death cult as a fully ranked and statured assassin. And during that travail, she finds herself under the purview of an interrogator and their inquisitional cohort. I've talked about the Inquisition in 40k before. If you don't know what that is, go check out some of my other videos. Maybe the Xenos review will be a good kind of overview of that. Anyway, that is kind of where our campaign begins. We have been on the trail of what turned out to be 1,000 Suns cohort of Chaos Space Marines traipsing along the galaxy, trying to bring back their fallen members and battle brothers in profane rituals. And our ragtag band of scoundrels, ne'er-do-wells, and underdogs has been attempting and mostly failing to stop them along the way. Most recently, and what I'm depicting here, is we were at a wedding for some nobles of the Navigator households being wed, and this is her in a wedding outfit, sort of acting as the security guard for our own ship's Navigator house, who was invited formally to the event. Now, Navigators being massively potent psychic humans, it's sort of a star-crossed situation between her and our ship's Navigator. She saved our Navigator's life. They kind of became pen pals, and it was kind of developing into an will they, won't they sort of situation that has yet to be fully resolved. But at this point, there is sort of something in the air between them, even though they kind of repel each other in a very physical, visceral sense. So it's a very kind of interesting situation to be in, and I'm enjoying role-playing that quite a bit. Anyway, she's acting as security for this Navigator. The rest of the retinue is there just kind of scouting out what is happening. And during the ceremony, of course, a chaos ritual happens, and the entire planet is ensconced in blue flame. Another party member takes out an Eldari whistle that none of us knew he had and blows it, and then we kind of escape from the planet, have to blow up our ship because it's being raided by Chaos Space Marines. Well, just one, but that's kind of enough to take over our ship. So we're kind of in an escape lander when an Eldar craft world cruiser shows up and takes us prisoner. So, being, loyal members of the Imperial Inquisition, none of us were very happy about this turn of events. But they had a very strong show of force in greeting us, and we realized quickly that if they wanted to kill us, they very easily could have, so we kind of just had to go along with whatever was happening. We learned that the Chaos Space Marines were in search of an ancient Eldari artifact that is rumored to magnify the psychic potency of whoever wields it by over 10,000 times. Very dangerous. And pretty much a power that we don't want falling in the hands of anybody, but especially people who aren't us. And during this scene that I am drawing out, I end up dueling an aspect warrior of the Eldari who turns out to be an Exarch. I did not know he was an Exarch at the time. I was just trying to have fun and have a little combat scene, and I absolutely got torn to shreds. But another big thing about her death cult is that they also consume the blood of those that they kill, and also themselves. A lot of their rituals involve bloodletting and sampling the blood of both other death cultists and their opponents. So here she is literally licking her wounds, which is probably low-key intimidating for this Eldari warrior, even though he does very well not to show it. But that is kind of what is happening in this little portrait here. Eventually, they drop us off, and via sort of chain hopping around in a few planets, we finally meet our Inquisitor, who has been suspiciously absent throughout the entire campaign. We've only really gotten a glimpse of him once before, and that was in the shadows. And otherwise, we've been working through his interrogator pretty much exclusively. So everybody kind of gets this big reveal scene where the Inquisitor reveals himself as being sort of someone who was killed while battling the Eldar, accidentally enslaved or captured by a Wraith Stone, or a soul stone that the Eldar used to capture typically their own souls, but it seems that perhaps like the Inquisitor was so psychically potent that it maybe got confused or something, and he was trapped in there. in which one of his other interrogators, a tech adept named Nero, was able to fashion a sort of xenotech hybrid power armor suit that could let the Inquisitor do his duties. Super heretical, super not chill. Everybody is kind of taken aback, even the interrogator who we've been working with this whole time. There's like this sense of betrayal. This Nero character who fashioned this power armor has been super sus the whole time. I have personally had several pet theories that the Inquisitor was dead and Nero was pulling the strings the entire time. That might still be the case. We don't really have a way to identify this person positively as actually being the Inquisitor, but again, we find ourselves in a position of not really being able to do anything. So that is kind of where we are currently. I mean, if you want to hear how the campaign ends, we're nearing the finale, so I'd be glad to take y'all through it once we get there. But speaking of, Noria Eng, who you might remember for a couple videos back where I was designing a villain for my Forge world, is in the campaign, and we're about to go face her in pitch combat, which is super freaking cool. So I'm super excited that some of my homebrew is being incorporated into this game that we've all been playing. But yeah, this is just a little portrait of my character Ophelia. She's super unhinged, super fun to roleplay, and our campaign has been so awesome so far. Shout outs to the DM. You know who you are. But if you enjoyed watching this slightly different video, let me know in the comments below. Have you ever had experience with Dark Heresy? What were your characters like? Let me know. And if you did enjoy the video, please give me a like. It always helps me out. And if you want to hear more about this campaign or more about Ophelia in general, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single one. And speaking of, I gotta go paint up Noria Eng. So I'll see you guys next time. Peace.